Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today for World EHS Day, which some know as electrohypersensitivity. Others are now beginning to call it electromagnetic radiation syndrome or EMR syndrome. So thank you for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for all the doctors and scientists who have brought us this far in our understanding of what biologically happens when we are exposed to these man-made energies. To begin our evening tonight, just a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to have about 20 speakers tonight, and everyone has been so gracious to keep their comments to about 2 minutes each so that we can keep the program moving swiftly. We are going to start with a clip of a new documentary that is called 5G, The Untold Story. This is done with our Swedish colleagues, Dr. Lennart Hardell and Mona Nilsson, who have done actual scientific studies on people who have been injured by the radio frequencies when 5G cell towers and antennas went up near their homes. They've also done a number of studies throughout Sweden. And when we send out our recording of tonight's program, we will also send links to the studies that they have done. So we will show that clip. And then we are going to have our other co-hosts join us, Amelia Gilardi and her mother, Courtney Gilardi. And then from there, we will be hearing from citizens coast to coast across the United States and one special guest from New Zealand. At the end of our program, Courtney and I will have some closing words. I will review what's happening in some of the legislature, and we will also talk about what is going on at the national level, at the state level. We have a petition that you can sign to support some of the bills here in Massachusetts. And we'll invite you to download the chat if you would like to save it on your computer at the end of the evening. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And now we're going to see the clip from 5G, The Untold Story.
Advice would be, of course, to dismantle 5G. I mean, it's a toxic agents that are forced on human beings.
När man hade kopplat in 5G då så fick jag väldigt snabbt och tydligt symptom. När jag kände att allting, det bara var fel i kroppen. Jag fick huvudvärk, yrsel, tinnitus. Det stack i huden.
Och efter installationen, när den var fullt i driftstagen, så mätte vi då minst 2,5 miljoner mikrowatt per kvadratmeter. Och det slog i botten. Speciellt på Kerstins sida av sängen där av någon konstig anledning. Men antennen satt alltså precis ovanför vårt sovrum, 5-7 meter därifrån. Så det gjorde vi. Vi packade våra väskor och nu hade jag tillgång till en liten etta på 30 kvadratmeter där vi då fick dra ut en bäddsoffa och bo då.
It's really worth watching that full film, and I thank those who have dropped that full-length link in the chat. I think it's only about 39 or 40 minutes, so it doesn't take long to watch, but it's really incredible and really empowering and might be very useful for those with electrical sensitivity, especially to share with those in their world who are still on the fence as to whether or not the symptoms that you're experiencing actually exist. Dr. Lennart Hardell is one of the world's leading scientists on this. He's also, as we saw, an oncologist, and he's been publishing studies for years. So he really knows the truth behind what is happening with these wireless exposures. So thank you for entertaining us while we got that clip running. And I'd like to now introduce one of my personal heroes, Amelia Gilardi, 17 years old, and she unfortunately became injured by today's wireless technology. And if you want to go ahead and say your piece, Amelia, we look forward to having you share it with us.
Thank you so much, Cece. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here tonight for World EHS Day, Voices of the Invisible Made Visible. She just said, my name is Amelia, and I'm 17 years old. I've been educating and advocating in city halls, community centers, and state houses to encourage those in power to enact bylaws and state laws for those who suffer with EHS. I have been doing this work for the last 5 years, ever since I was made sick and displaced from my home at 12 years old due to the presence of an environmental toxin, hazard, and nuisance known as radio frequency radiation emissions from a Verizon cell tower installed at the top of my street. It is an honor to help host this event again this year and to have each and every one of you here with us. I am excited to share that Pittsfield Mayor Peter Marchetti has issued a proclamation acknowledging EHS Day, as he has done the last several years. So I want to thank him and our Pittsfield City Councilors for being open-hearted and open-minded, and some of the most proactive, educated, and aware city councilors on this EMF issue. Their compassion and action has meant the world to me and to my injured neighbors, and together I do believe that we will pursue win-win solutions that will lead to us getting safely back home. I'm also excited to share that I recently testified on Massachusetts Bill H2413, sponsored by my state representative, Tricia Farley-Bouvier, which, if passed, would include EHS in a database of diseases so that those with this condition can be counted, and that diagnosis and treatment guidelines can be disseminated not just to pediatricians, but to all medical and healthcare providers. Data needs to drive decisions, and while doctors estimate that 2 to 3% of the population have EHS, and that 30% of people have one or more symptoms in the presence of electromagnetic fields, these numbers were for 2019 and have not been updated and do not reflect community trends and real-time statistics of those impacted in our Commonwealth. I'd like to see a bill creating an EHS registry passed in every single state. I also testified on 2 or more no-fee smart meter opt-out bills in the Joint Committee of Telecommunications, Utilities, and Energy that would prevent those with disabilities from being charged extra fees in the process of protecting their health. I am looking forward to testifying on Senator Paul Mark's Consumer Protection Bill, and thank each of our legislators for sponsoring such vitally important pieces of legislation. As all of the bills have been introduced in previous sessions and have not passed, we need all allies and advocates to help get them over the finish time this time around. Robert F. Kennedy said that each time a person stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. Tonight, I want to thank all of those who are acting to improve the lives of others through their stories, support, and actions. All of our lives matter, and through our collective actions and standing together, we can make the world a better, healthier, safer, kinder, and more accessible place for all of us with EHS. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for everything that you've done, for what you continue to do, and mostly for who you are. We're very grateful to have you in our village, along with your incredible mother, Courtney Gilardi, who has just been a tireless advocate for us all. Courtney, go ahead and join us. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Cece, and thank you, Amelia. My name is Courtney, and I want to thank every single one of you for being here for World EHS Day. World EHS Day, as Cece shared a little, began in France 8 years ago by Magali Lejour to recognize those who could not participate in society because of this condition. What started as a small campaign grew to 2,000 groups and individuals worldwide, recognizing EHS Day on June 16th every year by holding standouts, launching educational campaigns, distributing posters, hosting symposiums, issuing petitions, and calling for governmental policy change and protections. I want to thank Amelia, Cece Doucette, Pam Wallace for all their behind-scenes work in hosting, organizing, and video producing this evening, and for all our speakers and guests for being here tonight. With so many pressing issues happening around the world, it means the world to have you here spending this evening together. I wanted to share a little bit about what EHS is and what it is not, as we will be distributing this video to our legislators, lawmakers, and those empowered to make change. First and foremost, EHS is not made up. It is a medically recognized condition by the U.S. National Council on Disabilities and the U.S. Access Board, bearing its own ICD codes and having its own accredited medical conference with published science to support it, along with medical and nursing texts and public health publications to create awareness and education on this condition. EHS is not a fear of new technology. It can happen to anyone, but especially those who love, use, and embrace technology due to wireless exposure. It is a myth that those with EHS cannot use technology. We're all using it here tonight. Many of us with EHS do use technology and depend on it to work, school, and telemedicine from home. We just need to limit our exposure or use it hardwired and utilize safe Ethernet connections. It is a myth that EHS is only an extreme condition. We often hear these heartbreaking stories, but EHS, like many other conditions, can be mild, moderate, or severe. Some folks have a tingling in their hands and arms from wireless. Some feel a burning sensation in their skin or experience dry, sensitive eyes, headaches, ringing in their ears when exposed to wireless radiation. But even mild EHS can be impactful because it can make going out in public challenging, buying a new car without wireless difficult, or even finding housing or a job in a low RF environment challenging. EHS impacts everyone differently, but what is the same is our desire to be safe and healthy in our communities, but especially in our very own homes. We cannot mitigate what we do not measure, and so we must begin with our efforts to recognize this condition and to make positive changes at the intersection of health, safety, technology, environmental, and social justice. This work begins by dismantling the understanding and stigma around EHS, and that can begin by actually recognizing this condition, taking it out of the shadows, hearing the stories of those who suffer, listening to what they have endured, and what they wish those in leadership would understand, and then working together to truly co-create those solutions. Thank you for being here tonight with us and for your solidarity and support. Now, Kent Chamberlin was meant to be here this evening, but could not, but has a little statement, and Amelia is going to do her best Kent Chamberlin and share this on predatory delay. Here she is.
Hello, I'm reading for Kent Chamberlin, and he just has a very short piece about predatory delay. One of the themes we explored for EHS Day was EHS protections today, no more predatory delay. Dr. Kent Chamberlin regrets that he cannot be here tonight with us, but writes the predatory delay is the blocking or slowing of needed change in order to make money off unsustainable, unjust systems. And that is exactly what telecom is doing in regards to the negative health impacts of wireless radiation. They are following in the footsteps of other industries such as tobacco and asbestos so that they can continue raking in profits for as long as they can. The longer they can delay, the more money they will make, hence the name predatory delay. Once people understand that that is what's going on, it can give them a whole new perspective on this issue. I, as Amelia has shared in my testimony to the state legislation that we knew lead, smoking, and asbestos were dangerous for years before action was taken. Seeing RF is in the same category of being a Class 2 carcinogen, we cannot delay. We must take action today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for reading that for Dr. Chamberlin. Those of you who are familiar with his work will know that he was on the commission in New Hampshire that investigated the wireless issue and came out with this groundbreaking commission report that documents all the harm and the conflicts of interest with our federal agencies and the industry. So he is now the president of the Environmental Health Trust and has done so much over the years to help this cause. And we're sorry he couldn't be here live, but we really appreciate you sharing his thoughts on predatory delay. So thank you for that. And next, we have speaking with us tonight, Mary Bloomer from Wisconsin. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm sorry my camera is not working. I'm actually on a laptop and it should be working, but my name is Mary Bloomer and I have EHS. After struggling with insomnia, constant fatigue, difficulty focusing, heart palpitations, and more, I was diagnosed by 2 different healthcare practitioners as being sensitive to the harmful effects of radio frequencies and dirty electricity. I also have Lyme disease and learned the chronic exposure to radio frequencies could hinder my recovery. I wondered if this pervasive toxin was hurting me so much, what was it doing to our children? As a grandmother of 31, I had to do something. I became a certified EMF consultant and discovered people from all walks of life were impacted by EMFs from smart meters, cell towers, CPAP machines, and countless other so-called smart devices. Many were powerless to do anything about it. I learned children were being exposed to excessive levels of EMFs inside their schools, but also noticed massive cell towers on school properties. Taking measurements with my meters showed these children were being exposed to even more dangerously high levels of radiation inside and outside their schools. I asked to join the great work of Cece Doucette in Massachusetts for safe technology to help protect the children. Baby monitors, iPads, Chromebooks, high-tech automobiles, and video games are just a few of the things causing irreparable harm to our children. Anxiety, ADHD, DNA damage, and infertility are just the tip of the iceberg on the biological damage these devices cause. This must stop. Let's protect our most valuable resource, our children. Thank you.
Mary, thank you so much for that. You raised such important points, and I'm so honored to have you as one of the 10 champions across North America, where we are working to educate our communities as a pilot program before we go and start speaking to the schools. So thank you, Mary. And next, we would like to invite Janine McNamara from Arizona. Thank you, Janine.
Hello, my name is Janine McNamara, and my life changed in 2022 after 2 brain MRIs within a span of a few days resulted in severe disabling EHS. My reactions were met with disbelief by local doctors, so I took to isolation to deal with crippling fatigue, intense pressure headaches, heart palpitations, body-wide vibrations, tremoring, sharp rises in blood pressure, and a nervous system that felt fried. The only relief I found was by grounding for hours each day, regardless of the weather. Working was impossible, and my mother supported me with housing and food until her death in 2024. She left behind no will, no monetary assets, an estranged husband, my father, a sick daughter, me, and a small house that now belonged to my father. Despite his lack of understanding, my father allowed me to continue to stay in the home and provided a small food stipend. I managed the best I could until my father's death in March. He died without a will, without monetary assets, and in possession of my mother's home that is now to be divided amongst myself and my 3 unsympathetic siblings who do not believe that EHS exists. Without financial access to environmental doctors, alternative treatments, or rural housing, I have not seen improvements in my health, and stress, loss, and exposures have taken a further toll. My future appears terrifyingly grim as I am without an income, as EHS has left me homebound, and remote employment requires some measure of health and daily computer usage, which I cannot tolerate. While the barriers to obtaining disability are too high and the payments, SSI in my case, too low, while my remaining disbelieving family members offer no support and my siblings wish to sell the home I have been living in unless I buy them out. Thank you.
Oh, Janine, we're so very sorry for what you're experiencing, and we hope that through our collective efforts that we will see important changes where this disease is recognized and accommodations are made. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have Shari Champagne from Louisiana. Shari, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I am Shari Champagne. I am from Louisiana. And in 2000 and the end of 2021 into 22, I became sick, and through that journey, I was diagnosed with electromagnetic sensitivity, and then I was diagnosed with electromagnetic radiation syndrome. And so, being from Louisiana, I began researching and going through everything that I needed to find out. In 2022, after 6 300-foot unregulated and untested 5G towers went up over my animal sanctuary, there were 4 300-foot unregulated and untested towers were put up over my home and over my office. These towers went up overnight. The smart meter on my home was put on unknowingly. And after that, I began becoming ill and with symptoms that I was unaware of what they were. And then after I became sick with heart palpitations, headaches, insomnia, extreme fatigue, ringing and buzzing in my ears, joint pain, vertigo, stomach pain, heart pain, many of these other symptoms. It became quite debilitating and being unsure of what it was. Obviously, I went down that road to figure out what that was and finding out that I would be diagnosed with radiation exposure. And so after I began wearing protective clothing, learning to shield myself, and detoxing, and then learning how to navigate that, and being diagnosed with radiation exposure. I learned in advocating for my health and for that the industry and the FCC are responsible for myself and many others like yourself now being diagnosed with radiation exposure or ERS. And so, which for most of us now is we consider this life and we're navigating that. And so I was surrounded by the very thing that was making me sick. My neighbors, many of them have passed away since the towers went up. And many of my other neighbors are sick. So it is my quest and to learn as much as I possibly can about the EMF and the RF radiation. I have become certified in electromagnetic frequency radiation. I am now a certified specialist in electromagnetic frequency radiation testing, meter testing, reading, and interpretation. And every single person that I know in my circle and outside of my circle has ERS symptoms. That includes all my family members and the people that I know and love around me. How can we allow this to continue? I never thought that this were possible. So many of our lives have been changed due to an industry that is obviously unregulated. And that is what we are here to do, to communicate that, educate others, and hopefully make a change. The doctors say that electromagnetic radiation can, in my case and many of others, can ultimately take our lives if there is some type of a electromagnetic frequency radiation pulse or something else that can change the frequency of our hearts that have heart issues with the syndrome. And so my avocation is that we share as much as we can, we educate as many as we can, and we never stop pushing to raise awareness for ERS and those around us to understand what that is and how it affects our life. Thank you, everyone.
Shari, thank you so much for everything that you've been doing. I know you've been working with legislators there, you've been working with your local schools, and there is no cavalry coming. So it is up to us as best we can to work on this in the immediate until public policy catches up to the science.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for this evening. We all really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for being here and sharing your story as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Shari. And next we have Janet FitzGerald from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Cece and Courtney and Pam for organizing. I also want to thank the EMR and EMF aware communities, organizations, and building biologists who have helped me and so many others along our path to protecting our health, or trying to. About 6 years, I became what I call radiation saturated, or EHS, electrohypersensitive. I began to get headaches while inside my own home office, but not outside. So we hired a building biologist, got wired, and life became better. But things changed when we moved cross country and into a condo. I became shaky and headachy until I got vitamin C and glutathione IVs to tide me over until we could move to a detached rental in a small town. Here we've tackled the radiating utility meter problem by working with the town to have our electric meter moved, and then with the water department to have that meter shielded, except during the once a month drive-by reading days. My most dramatic EHS incident occurred when I was exposed to a newly updated, loaded 5G bundle while touring the top of the Olympic ski jumping tower in Lake Placid, where I became suddenly faint and then got a vice-like gripping headache and then felt a sudden violent shaking in my chest, which I later learned was tachycardia. The most ironic moment came when I was directed to wear a wireless radiating tracking device upon entering a famous cancer center for a post-ovarian cancer checkup. I declined. The saddest moments have been, however, seeing the lack of knowledge many, but not all, doctors have about EHS. So I do EMR meter reading demos, and I bring in my literature to share with them, right? So that they can learn about it, because that's what we have to do. But the most tragic moments have been seeing the lack of interest about EMRs from the neuro-oncologist who gave my husband 1 year to live 2 years ago. Sorry. Or their lack of curiosity about the EMR shielding bed canopy that I know has helped my husband live longer and better. Despite the studies we gave these doctors from Dr. Joel Moskowitz, about the EMR brain cancer connection. It's all part of what we have to do because we are, in fact, the canaries in the mine shaft. Thank you.
Janet, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And what a blessing it was that your husband was here to see your daughter graduate recently from college, to go on a family vacation together, which was completely unexpected. So with great thanks to you and your tenacity and your kindness and caring and your determination to help his medical team understand more than what they were trained with in medical school. So bless you, and I so admire your indomitable spirit. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Cece.
And a big hug. Okay, Brad Decker, please join us from California.
Hello, I'm Brad Decker from California. As you already heard, I have a story, but that's not why I'm here today. I want to say it's EHS Day, EMRS Day, whatever you like to call it. We can celebrate. We can celebrate because we are expanding awareness. We can celebrate because we are gaining resilience. We are healing. We are learning. There are ever more of us. And I'm so grateful because this is where I learned about EHS, was at this meeting. Anyway, I'm straying from the script. Today, we reach out to other sensitives still lost out there. Too many of us go away and die quietly. And this just feels, there's just no need for it. EHS has a perk. Every time we get away from the electromagnetic damage that is happening to us, we get better. The symptoms, they waft away. We don't have to suffer like this, but we need that haven. And there are very few disabilities that have this perk. It's lucky, really, as miserable as this whole thing is. We can rebuild this. The problem that we face is not our sensitivity. It is not the case that some people are hypersensitive to lead or to asbestos or to fisticuffs. When things get deadly, some people sicken and die first. That's just how it always works. The suffering of us is the red flag, whereby our species should be able to know that we are all in a bad way, wirelessly. We need to make some changes so that we don't all wither and die. So we reach out today to the non-sensitives as well. You may be unaware of the stress and damage you suffer from EMR. You may not feel it. I can't feel asbestos. None of this is about feelings. Harmful interference radiating from our devices and electrical infrastructure impacts all life. Don't wait to feel it. Don't wait until it's too late. Please wake up. We need that haven. Thank you.
Oh, so well said, Brad. Thank you so much. And I'm originally from California. I miss those citrus trees that are sitting behind you.
Meyer Lemon.
There you go. Can't beat that. All right. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you.
And next we have from Idaho, Keith Cutter.
All right. Keith Cutter, EMFremedy.com, celebrating 40 years of survival this year. My suffering started in 1985. misdiagnosed, mistreated, 33 years. By God's grace, in 2018, I realized it wasn't me. It was the poisoning of the electromagnetic environment. When I reduced synthetic exposures at home, my chronic arthritis and many other conditions didn't get better. They vanished. My doctor saw it, then hired me to help him, and that's how EMF Remedy began. Now I train EMF consultants, I design homes, I host a weekly audio podcast on this topic, I publish my writing, I assess, I remediate, and I have a heart for lifting up the voices of those who suffer. You'll find those on my YouTube channel. Serve and survive. I'm gaining resilience, reducing sensitivity, and I want the same for you. Here's how. 6 pillars to move forward. Number 1, learn how to assess and remediate properly. You need a living environment that supports your recovery needs. Number 2, understand the only 3 real solutions. Remove the source at distance or shield what you can't avoid. That's it. It's simple, but it isn't easy. Number 3, find a trusted guide, one who avoids 3 traps. Number 1 is inaccurate meters. They can be misleading, and they're not helpful for serious work. Harmonizers, stickers, sprays, pendants, pyramids, scalar, crystal, plug-in shields, they just don't work. And the last trap to avoid is a wacky new health hack every week. If it's always a miracle fix, walk away. This is about avoidance, that's all. Number 4 is understand it's not you. This is environmental poisoning. Some of us just react sooner than others. Guard your mindset. Bitterness helps no one. Those who left you behind, they're programmed. They're not evil. What should we do? Love them anyway, but don't wait for their approval. And number 6, oxygen mask principle. Secure your own healing first, then help someone who's ready. Thank you.
Oh, Keith, thank you so much for that short, crisp, and direct advice for what we can all do to keep our sanity and hopefully keep our health. We appreciate you. Thanks. All right. And next we have from the Midwest, Annette Mathies. Please join us.
Thank you all for listening to my experience. As Cece just said, my name is Annette Mathies. I'm currently in a rural part of the Midwest, and I've lived majority of my career in many big cities in the US and Europe. I became sensitive to EMF after a severe chemical and mold exposure, and I went through 5 years of end-stage environmental illness. At my worst, I couldn't stand, walk, read, or write. Today, I'm living a very active and full life, and I'm thriving in my career, and I felt the best that I've ever felt in my life. My EMF sensitivity showed up with some vague symptoms that were really hard to pinpoint. Devices were extremely hot to touch. I got weak legs and headaches near cell phone towers. But my EMF sensitivity was part of an overall environmental illness that I experienced, and I was treated for the environmental illness, including mold and chemical exposure by Dr. Lisa Naj on Martha's Vineyard. So I have a PhD in immunology, and I've spent 25 years working in biotech companies, and I thought that I knew healthcare. I thought that I knew clinical symptom presentation. And all I can say is this is an area of medicine that's very serious, and treatment for these types of sensitivity is just simply a basic medicine that all people need to survive this very toxic world that we're living in.
Oh, thank you, Annette. And again, we're so sorry that you've been sensitized to all of this or Wi-Fi. But we appreciate you being here and sharing your story. Okay, and next from New Zealand, we have Daniel Vasku. Welcome, Daniel, and thanks so much for joining us at the recommendation of Keith Cutter.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Daniel Vasku. I live in an EMF-free community in Golden Bay, New Zealand. And about 13 years ago, my life took a dramatic turn. I'd been a lifelong geek, passionate about tech and always glued to my devices. But I started to get seriously ill after setting up a wireless mesh for our festival. And after some trial and error, I realized it was my constant exposure to laptops, phones, and Wi-Fi that was actually making me sick. And when I cut back drastically over my wireless usage, my health improved. But over the years, my sensitivity got progressively worse. And now I can only go into town wearing a full shielding mesh suit that covers me from head to toe, just to do basic errands. I moved to a quiet valley off grid where I live with other people and only make use of 12-volt DC, no alternating current. And I found that reducing EMF exposure to near zero helps me avoid migraines and full body inflammation and lots of other things. But living in a community while being electrosensitive is especially challenging. I mean, I love technology, but I had to learn how to use it safely. And I now know how to drastically limit exposure while still accessing many of its benefits. The bigger challenge is people. Most don't feel the effects of EMFs, at least not yet, so they assume it's harmless, and most people simply aren't aware. In shared spaces, especially with newcomers bringing in their wireless emitting gear, we've had to set clear boundaries in recognition of this prevalent addiction. By experiencing an EMF-free zone, people, however, can discover how different they feel when your body finally becomes to a state of ease. I believe that EMF awareness will grow with people prioritizing health and not necessarily waiting on policy change. More people are waking up, and I'm helping where I can, sharing what I've learned. And I believe that if we keep building safe, creative, EMF-free spaces, we'll be ready for the wave of awareness that is coming. Thank you.
Oh, Daniel, thank you so much. I really appreciate your encouraging words. And yeah, let's all put our positive energy out there as much as we can and see if we can help affect those change. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Lenka Kabilka from California. Lenka, welcome. Please unmute.
Hi, thank you for having me. I've been following you guys for basically since the beginning, and I believe my story started just about the same time when you experienced your own dilemmas with your EMF issues and radiation issues. My story started. I'm basically from California, Santa Monica. I lived there for over 30 years in the same place. And one day, we heard a construction going on, and I realized that new 5G cell tower is going to be built right above my apartment on the roof. And literally 10, 12 feet above us, multiple base stations from a quite unknown company. Nobody really knew it. I didn't know it. They didn't advertise it. And shortly after it was activated, pretty much immediately, me and my boys started to experience side effects from headaches, heart palpitations, dizziness. I didn't even know what was going on. I couldn't catch a breath often. I was very athletic, but without being physically involved, I just couldn't breathe. I felt that this is just so abnormal. And I learned that there is a term for it. It's called oxidative stress. All of you are probably familiar with that. And so, it was during the COVID time. You cannot even go to a doctor. They advise you go only in emergency. So it was very hard to find somebody who would not only see you, but even understand you. So I had a doctor then later on out of pocket who treated people before and understood. And that's becoming my road to healing. Now I'm sensitive. I can be by a computer or next to a computer for maybe an hour, 2, 3, the most. Then I'll start feeling side effects, especially if I'm using my mouse. I feel the energy coming through. And I put up the fight. This company who is basically operating throughout the United States had only FCC experimental license. Many do not even know what that is, but it's basically a very cheap way to obtain a license to start operating and experimenting in unlicensed frequencies. And what I learned during my research, because I opened up an investigation with the city because all this site was unpermitted, I learned that these devices were not even authorized for commercial use yet. So I don't even know what I have been impacted with, but obviously my body was speaking clearly that it's not happy what's happening to me. So I would kind of advocate to people to check if certain devices are even permitted and the operation is allowed in the city. And that doesn't mean that it's healthy or not. The proximity to where these antennas are placed is crucial. But now I had to basically relocate away from the city, and I live in a remote area without any cell towers. I'm hardwired and can't really use cell phone for too long, certainly not holding it in my hand. So we all get affected. I do inform my family, friends. A few of my friends asked me to help them out to measure in their home, even though I'm not an expert. Over the years, 5 years, I pretty much can detect where it's a safe place to be, remove certain elements which cause problems. So that's my story. I have 2 lawsuits going on against my city, which is probably the main lawsuit I'd like to highlight, because despite the fact that we do have very strict zoning ordinance, it was all ignored by the city officials for the 4 years. Even now, actually, my old apartment still has some remaining unpermitted antennas on the roof. And as you can see, it's very difficult for anyone to have your city representative to do anything about it. They're probably afraid of the lawsuits from the wireless company, as they have unlimited funds, but not giving up.
Oh, bless you, Lenka. I love your fighting spirit. When we've got our children and we're trying to keep them safe, we're trying to keep ourselves upright so that we can take care of our families. It's heart-wrenching, and it's unconscionable that public servants are not necessarily public leaders in many cases. So I commend you for reaching out to somebody to represent you legally and see if you can set that right again. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to hear from Andrew Molner in New York.
Hi, my name is Andrew Molner, and I've been involved with the responsible technology movement for several years. I also have electromagnetic radiation syndrome. So whenever I get too close to a cell tower, I start getting headaches and I feel dizzy. I also can't use a cell phone for more than a few minutes. It's been a frustrating road, especially given that America's regulations about this are some of the worst in the world, as many of you know. In that vein, a few years ago, I led the effort to pass strong new codes in my hometown of Ithaca, New York, doing our best to limit unnecessary new wireless infrastructure. Just this past year, Verizon tried to challenge these codes and build another large cell tower. Thankfully, our citizen efforts to oppose this succeeded, and we killed the project. It was a huge win for us. In the process of this local work, I've also become involved in the national and international networks to address this issue. This past year, I was the facilitator and member of the One Name Project. Essentially, our goal was to create a new term to describe the negative health impacts of wireless radiation, a name that could replace all the different names out there to help unify our cause. After a year of work and with input from some of the best minds in our movement, we succeeded. We've rolled out the new name, Electromagnetic Radiation Syndrome, or EMR syndrome. Hopefully, we'll see that name becoming the norm across the world, including in the name of this event next year. I know that the work that we're all doing to elevate this issue and bring change can sometimes seem Sisyphean, hopeless. But I know we are on the right side of history. And I trust that eventually, with all of our efforts, We will prevail. I wish you all the best in your work.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. And now we're going to hear from Ruth Moss, who worked with Andrew on the One Name project. Ruth, if you're able to join us, we would love
Yes,
to hear.
my name is Ruth Moss. I'm a New Yorker with a background in advertising. I started as a copywriter, eventually becoming Senior VP, Creative Director, responsible for TV, print, and radio advertising for 16 national brands. After my daughter was born, I developed chronic fatigue and had to quit my job. I was 36. Doctors weren't helping, so I pursued alternatives and started to get my strength back. It was at that point that a smart meter was placed on my house. What ensued were years of mysterious flu-like symptoms. I thought I was dying, even left a note in my desk drawer telling my family I loved them. It took 7 years to connect the dots to the meter. By then, I could no longer use a cell phone, portable phone, or live in Wi-Fi. When I realized what had happened to me, my first question was, what is this condition? What's the name of this condition? Much to my amazement, I received not one, but 2, 3, 4, 5, and more answers to that question. With my background in advertising, I immediately knew that multiple names would fragment, diffuse, and confuse any attempts to raise public awareness, which is our main objective. The brain responds to pattern and repetition. You don't need a marketing degree to know that. We needed one powerful, single-minded name. I founded the One Name Project, helped on by Pam Wallace of Michigan and Andrew Molner of Ithaca, New York, two of my heroes who guided my early days. Dr. Kent Chamberlin and Nicholas Martin of the UK joined in. We reached out to community members and they responded. Give me a name that puts the blame on the toxin, not me. That doesn't isolate me as the cause of my own condition. A name that sends the message, we are all vulnerable. After an exacting year-long process that included scientists, doctors, and leading advocates, EMR syndrome emerged number one. We're now creating a website, brochures, social media, and more. Federal agencies are being contacted and medical codes verified. To stay updated, contact info@emrsyndrome.org. Thank you.
Ruth, thank you so much. We are so inspired by your leadership from your professional angle that we do need to come down to one term so that we can all use it. And that way people will know immediately when we speak it, what it is that we're referring to. And we're so excited that you're going to build out a website because right now, if people do a search on this, as you said, it's buckshot out there and you get this category of things that come up. So we really appreciate your efforts. We know in different corners and countries that other terms have been used for many years. So it's certainly not an easy task, but a very important and necessary one. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cece.
Okay. Next, we're going to hear from Miriam Eckenfels Garcia, who heads up the electromagnetic radiation wireless team with Children's Health Defense. She is not able to be with us live tonight, so she has sent us a video that she would like to share.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you to Cece and Courtney for inviting me to speak on this very important day and to briefly tell you all about Children's Health Defense's work in the EMR and wireless space. My name is Miriam Eckenfels. I am the director of CHD's EMR and wireless program. And as I hope many of you know, we have been very hard at work over the past couple of years, educating, advocating, and litigating, particularly for a safer environment and for a more responsive legal framework when it comes to wireless technology and to get some form of justice for people who have been harmed by this technology. If there is a recurring theme of our litigation over the past years, unfortunately, it is that if there is a cell tower going up close to your house, your school, your children's playground, and somebody happens to get harmed from it, the environment gets damage, which both of which is pretty much inevitable, there is nothing you can do. State tort law doesn't apply. State health law can't be used. There's nothing you can do to take the tower down. Even federal disability laws don't apply. And so this really puts people who get harmed by cell towers in a position where they have absolutely no recourse. And we believe that that is not a situation that is acceptable. We see RF radiation as one of the fastest growing environmental toxins of our time that poses a huge threat to the environment and our children and the humans in the world. And so we have launched 2 new initiatives to hopefully tackle and some of these issues and make a shift in the public discourse. One is really creating pressure from the ground up through the Stop 5G initiative, can be found at stop5g.org and on social media at Stop5G Near Me, where we are empowering communities to push back against cell tower installation during the permitting process when there's still political power. But also to really educate each other, community, to spread the word, spread awareness, really help people realize what's going on and how harmful this technology is, and that we really need to do something about it and to create pressure through the system from the bottom up, through local authorities, and through grassroots mobilization and advocacy. And then we also launched a new initiative that we're very proud of, together with over 100 safe tech organizations from all across the country. It's called 704 No More, and it really tackles this scheme of federal preemption in this space that takes away all power from local communities when it comes to the siting of cell towers. That really makes it hard for local communities to have a say in how much wireless infrastructure they want in their community and where they want that infrastructure placed. And so it also aims at restoring individual rights, in that we believe that there ought to be a recourse for people who get harmed either by cell towers or by wireless devices, and there cannot be a situation in which no recourse is available and no law applies for people who have been harmed, be it that they develop AHS or other related illnesses. So we are very hopeful. We are very excited to work with the 704 No More Coalition, but also through the Stop 5G initiative, working with communities and really help everyone educate, advocate, and put power back into the hands where they belong, and to help advocate and work towards a safer environment for our children, for humanity, and for our environment, for the planet that we all are tasked with preserving. And so we and this entire program, our entire movement, stands on the back of so many tireless advocates that have been in this space for a very long time, whose voices have been overheard. And we are excited to fight alongside you all and to hopefully make a small difference towards justice and towards a better and safer world for the generations to come. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Miriam. We are so inspired and hopeful for the work that Children's Health Defense is doing, for the work that the Environmental Health Trust is doing, and for gathering up attorneys who are actually testing theories in the courts to see where we might prevail. So we've dropped some information into the chat for people who want to go and look a little bit deeper into that. We did have Elizabeth Kelley join us for a few moments. Some of you may know that Libby Kelley directed the EMF Medical Conference, and she is with us tonight. Libby, we're so pleased to have you. If you could unmute and say hello.
Hi, Cece. Thank you for having me on. And it's very nice to hear everybody speak about their perspectives, their journey on this issue, what they've learned from it, and importantly, what they're doing about it. And I notice so many people are looking beyond themselves. They're looking at society and each other and helping each other. And that's so important, especially these days. So since I did send my video to Cece, but since I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and read. I have to read what I prepared. So I'll begin doing that right now.
Perfect.
I'm speaking to you from Arizona, and I'm the managing director for the International Commission on the Biological Effects of Electromagnetic Fields. I'm so honored to be here, and I want to just give a few highlights of our work to bring science-based solutions to public policy makers and manufacturers that will benefit everyone, as well as people who are living with electromagnetic hypersensitivity, or EHS. ICBE-EMF, which is our short form name, our acronym, it's composed of an interdisciplinary group of scientists, engineers, medical doctors, and policy experts like myself who take seriously the health and environmental effects of non-ionizing radiation. So we're not just talking about the radio frequencies, we're talking about electrical and wireless sources in our world, which are growing. Last year, we issued a position statement recognizing EHS as an escalating humanitarian crisis that requires an urgent response. The current exposure limits adopted by most nations of the world are not protective. Government agencies do not seem to care. And more than that, there's an organization based in Germany called the International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation, who have established a formal working relationship with the World Health Organization. And they are highly influential over what the World Health Organization says and does now, as well as issuing their own exposure guidelines and marketing them all over the world. These guidelines only recognize heating effect as an effect, but nothing short of that, not the very low level exposures all of us are being exposed to every day. ICBE EMF's goal is to see EHS formally recognized as an EMF-induced external cause of injury by public health agencies worldwide, and to give greater recognition to the needs of those who are EHS disabled. A big part of our job is correcting the misrepresentations and misleading statements that are out in the public. The World Health Organization commissioned several review papers on radio frequency radiation with the apparent intention to use the findings coming out of these reviews that show no effect as a reason to not include them, that is, to not include radio frequency radiation as part of a new environmental health criteria that it intends to publish. These findings of no effect could also result in the International Agency on Research on Cancer to conclude, well, there must not be anything to it. So therefore, we're not going to do a review of this research as they did in 2011, where they decided that radio frequency radiation was a possible human carcinogen, because at that time, there were no studies in laboratories on animals showing effects that were cancer causing and causing neurological and reproductive effects, as there are now. So if they don't look, they're not going to find out. If you don't ask, you're not going to learn. And that would be the end of the story. Well, we don't want that to happen. So we're taking on the review papers that the World Health Organization has been publishing, and we're publishing critiques of individual review papers, and we're publishing letters to the editor of the journals that publish them. Two examples of what we're coming up with. One, there's a review paper that was published on electromagnetic hypersensitivity that reported no effect. And we know why. It's because of the studies they selected and the way they designed the study. We've analyzed that, and we are going to be challenging that study. Another finding, which is positive, is that one systemic review paper on animals exposed to radio frequency radiation concluded there with high certainty that they found two types of cancers in rats, that is glioblastoma and cardiomyopathy, both nerve cells, glial cells, found in the head and in the heart. that were affected, which means our nervous system is being affected. These findings are concordant with earlier studies finding these same cancers in people. This is a significant finding as we can no longer say that the only health effects are caused by heat, which is what the current standards for exposure to RF are based on. So we're making progress and we will persevere. For more information, go to our website, icbe-emf.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. We're so delighted that you could join us tonight. We really appreciating you making the time on your very overflowing plate right now. And we're so honored for everything that you do and that you continue to pull the world leading experts together. And Libby is also behind the International Scientists Appeal that has been submitted with many signatures from scientists who are well published in this area. She also helped to get the ball rolling with the Americans with Disabilities Act and most recently the National Disabilities Council. So she has been a tireless advocate for all of us and is just such an inspiration, and you keep us going, Libby. So thank you so much. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to share a statement that I prepared about other things that will give us hope. So important inroads are being made around the world in public policy. And here in the United States, Odette Wilkins and her team at the National Call for Safe Technology are working really hard at the federal level. At the state level, here in Massachusetts, we have 6 bills towards safe technology and disability accommodations. Citizens in other states are working with their legislators too, and I'll send all the links in the show notes when we get our video out. We'd be grateful if you would please sign a petition created by the tireless Patricia Burke, who's been with us tonight, for our state registry bill. We want the Massachusetts Department of Public Health to include electromagnetic radiation injuries in our state database of illnesses. And we have 2 smart meter no fee opt-out bills, and we'll drop that link in the chat before the night is through. So until public policy catches up to the science, we're grateful to have incredible resources available right now to help others understand what EMR syndrome is. We have, with great thanks to Libby Kelley, the EMF Medical Conference online now at no cost to train our doctors to recognize, diagnose, treat, and prevent this illness. The Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition has K through 12 school curriculum already prepared for cell phones and wireless prevention. With my partner in Finland, Dr. Mikko Ahonen, and I have a 1-hour online course where we are prepared to train families, schools, offices, municipalities at safer screen time. Our friends Patty and Doug Wood have Tech Safe Schools, and on their website, you will find summaries of the health risks, the legal risks that our schools face, and most importantly, strategies to greatly reduce exposures today while we mitigate and find our way to hardwired technology. And every month, I offer a free public education webinar to teach the science, the symptoms, and what we can do to reduce our exposures. So even though World EHS Day happens once a year, please know every month we've got a highly credible place for you to send people who want to learn more about this issue. We want to let you know that we will send this video out in the coming days, and we will send as many resources as we can gather from everybody's talks tonight. And if anybody would like to save the chat, we welcome you to do that right now. If you go to the top of the chat box, there's 3 little dots. Click on that ellipse, and you'll be able to have that opportunity to save this to your own computer. And next, I just want to let Courtney Gilardi say a few things in closing. And to wrap up, after Courtney, we're grateful to share with you the new 5-minute production just released by Piti Theater with a song dedicated to those suffering from electropollution. So Courtney, go ahead. And if you would like to introduce Godelieve at the end of your talk, we'd be very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cece, and thank you all so much for your moving personal stories and your powerful testimonies. You had us in tears and you had us clapping and raising the roof in celebration. Thank you for your courage and your willingness to share your words with each of us here and to share those words with our legislators and leaders. Thank you for being here to celebrate the heartbreaking beauty, the bravery, the strength, the perseverance, and the resilience of our global EHS community. Through our collective individual and expert efforts advocating, educating, and litigating, may we all prevail. May our efforts inspire even more grassroots movements by educating on those in power and pushing them to take action today to protect our health and safety without that predatory delay. Through support and connection with each other, and from the inspiration we draw upon each and every one here, may we all know that we are seen and we are not alone. Your story is heard, your hard work, leadership, and education is making a powerful difference in the lives of the people in Pittsfield who have suffered, and in the life of this growing movement. We will not be ignored. We will rise up, and together we will see health and safety protections. Thank you for being here, and the tides are turning. And we will see each of you next year on June 16th for World EHS Day 2026. And now we woke up this morning with a surprise in our inbox from Godelieve Richards, Jonathan Miriam of Piti Theater Company. Godelieve is here to talk about her incredible song, The Sad Clown. We are going to be playing that in a moment. And here is Godelieve. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and letting us share your incredible video.
Okay. Hi, everybody. And yes, thank you for all the testimonies and work that we heard tonight. Yes, so I wanted to make a little surprise for EHS Day. I also kind of wrote a little statement. So I'm Godelieve Richard from Piti Theater Company. And so we made this song about 11 years ago. It was part of a performance called Innocenzo for all ages. We made this show to let people know that the electromagnetic pollution is dangerous. We realized that it was dangerous from a personal experience, and we felt that if we knew that, we couldn't stay silent. So after all of these years, so during these 11 years or more, I met many people who were suffering from this pollution. And so I wanted to give something soothing and validate their suffering and the suffering that is also mine. So the video shows also that the problem is serious and it can lead to death. And it is shameful that I'm going to say EHS, the people who have EMR syndrome are left without help, love, support, understandings, dignity, money, and more. So that's just kind of like my way of giving some love and soothing.
No. Thank you so much, Godelieve.
Just another sad clown. Heart is heavy, head spinning around. I'm feeling lost, not found. I got a smile, but it's upside down. It's not how I wanna be. I wanna be healthy and free. But something's got a hold of me, a hold of me. The sun is sinking low. Isn't that how sad songs go? I live my life alone. But look how much alone as well. It's not how I wanna be. I wanna be healthy and free. But something's got a hold of me, a hold of me. I feel so tired of these aches and pains I never used
used to mind the rain. But if it rains and never shines, what kind of life would you call mine? Sun is sinking low. Isn't that how sad songs go? I live my life alone, but look how much alone I grown. It's not how I wanna be. I wanna be healthy and free, but something's got a hold of me, a hold of me. I wanna live my life and be happy, but when you're sick, happy is hard to be. Does anyone knows how it feels when everyone said that it's not real? Just another sad cloud. Let's start again. Just another sad cloud. How this heavy head spinning around, feeling lost, not found. Got a smile, but it's upside down. It's not how I wanna be. I wanna be healthy and free, but something's got a hold of me, a hold of me.
Oh, Godelieve, John, and Laura, thank you guys so much. That was really quite the surprise to wake up to today. I know that right along with Courtney, when I watched that, I was jerking tears too. So we want to thank everybody again for your time tonight, for your commitment. We honor you, we honor your suffering, and we are all working as hard as we can to try and do what we can and try and keep hope. Every day there are people right here with you that are trying to help. So take care, everybody. God bless. And maybe we'll see you next week on the 25th. I'm having the next public education webinar. You can go to Massachusetts for Safe Technology and look on my events page, and you can sign up to come yourself, to bring others with you, to give it to your town leaders, your school leaders. We're here to help. We've got to get the education out there. And that's what we do. So bless you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Take care.